Hi all, today we discuss about Azure Global Infrastructure. So Azure Global Infrastructure contain Azure data centers. Data centers are nothing but physical facilities containing servers, storage and networking hardware. It is highly secure with biometric access, 24 by 7 surveillance, redundant power and cooling. It is not accessible directly by customers. All Azure services ultimately run inside Microsoft data centers. Azure regions. A region is a geographical area containing one or more data centers. Example, Central India, South India, West Europe, East US. Used for reduce latency, meet data residency and compliance needs. When you create VM or storage account, you select a region. Data residency means where your data is physically stored and processed, usually referring to the country or region where servers are located. Why it matters? Legal compliance. Many countries require certain types of data like personal data, financial data to stay within their borders. Privacy and security. Different regions have different data protection laws. Example GDPR in Europe and other laws in other countries. Performance. Keeping data closer to users can reduce latency. Performance wise, we can say this. Keeping data closer to users can reduce latency. Control. Organizations may want strict control over how and where sensitive data is handled. Example, if a company says it offers EU data residency, it means your data is stored and processed in Europe data centers rather than US or Asia. Region pairs. Two regions within the same geography. So these region pairs it's happened from Microsoft only. Microsoft only pair up regions. For example, Central India, South India, East US, West US. Benefits. What are the benefits of region pairs? Disaster recovery, automation platform replication. Any replication is happening automatically. So region pairs will help that automation, that replication, automatic platform replication. Planned maintenance isolation. Any planned maintenance is there. So in that case, region pair will help that planned maintenance. Availability zones. Availability zones physically separated data centers within a single region. So each availability zone has independent power, cooling, networking, like that. So it has independent power, independent everything independently configured, independent power, cooling, networking, like that. Example, let's say region Central India. It has availability zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, like that. So what are the uses of this is protects against data center level failures. Availability sets. Availability set is a logical group of VMs, not different physical locations used inside a data center only. Two concepts: fault domains, update domains. Fault domains, Azure configures in different racks of our VMs. Update domains, Azure create groups. So update domain groups like when VM created, it assigned to an update domain like update domain 0. Later Next VM create if we create next VM, it's assigned to update domain 1, and one more VM created, it assigned to update domain 2, like that. So what are the uses of this is used when availability zones are not required or supported. Availability zones are not, suppose availability sets uh, is related to inside the data center only. Availability sets we configure inside the data center, and availability zones. So it's actually different data centers. So when we not configure availability zones for that VM, so availability sets need to be configured. So availability sets protect our VM from accidental deletion or unplanned maintenance, disaster recovery. So like that. So update, what is update domains? Update domains indicate group of virtual machines and underlying physical hardware that can be restarted at the same time. Okay, update domains indicates group of virtual machines and underlying physical hardware. So Azure assign one VM to an update domain that is physical hardware related that can be restarted at the same time. So both can be restarted at same time. Let's say update domain 0 when any maintenance happening. So Azure restarts Azure do the maintenance and restart update domain 0 first. So it gives 30 minutes for update domain is up until update domain for update domain up and update domain stable. Later it will apply the patches or any updates on update domain 1. So both it won't update to both domain same time. So once it is update domain 0 is updated and it is up, then only it will proceed to update domain 1 updation. If more than 5 VMs are configured in the availability set with 5 update domains, the sixth VM is placed in the same update domain as the first. Okay, so update domain maximum we can configure 5 only. So suppose we have 6 VMs, we configure 5. When we configure 5 VMs, update Azure assign one VM to one update domain like that until 5. Later, sixth VM is placed in the same update domain as the first. Again, sixth VM it goes to first update domain. The seventh with the second, and so on, like that. The order of the order of update domains begins restarted might not processed sequentially during planned maintenance, but only one update domain is restarted at the same time. The restarted update domain has 30 minutes to recover before maintenance starts on a different update domain. So update domain concept we discuss in details. In Azure, fault domain and update domains are mainly configured in an availability set to improve VM availability. What are the fault domains? A fault domain is like a separate physical rack in a data center. So Azure separate it. If one rack loses power network, only VM in that FFD are affected. So any any power loss or network loss, only one VM Azure assigned to first update domain, right? Fault domain, sorry. So that only impacts. So, Azure spreads VM across multiple FDs. So VMs Azure, what Azure does is it separates VM to multiple file domains. Example, VM1 goes to file domain 0, VM2 file domain 1. If VM file domain 0 fails, VM2 still runs on file domain 1 from file domain 1. Update domain. An update domain controls how Azure perform maintenance updates. Azure updates one update domain at a time. Other IDs stay running during maintenance. For example, suppose VM1 goes to update domain 0, VM2 goes to update domain 1. During maintenance, Azure reboots only one update domain at a time. All domains. File domains usually we can configure 2 or 3. Maximum depends on region. So some regions only 2 available, some regions you can configure 3. Update domains default 5, maximum 20. Example configuration like below. All domains 2, update domains 5, like that. So file domains 2 based on the region. Some regions they offer three file domain also. Update domains minimum we can configure 5 and maximum 20. Add virtual machines. While creating VM, go to availability options, select availability set, choose the availability set you created. So when VM creation only, we assign the availability set. Azure automatically distributes VM across FDs and UDs. So Azure only distributes that VMs across file domains and update domains. So important notes is you configure FD and UD only when create the availability set. So when you configuring availability set only, you can configure the file domain and update domain. After creation, you cannot change FD UD counts. Once it is created, we can't change file domain and update domain counts. When you creating only, we have to select the how many file domains, how many update domains. To change them later, create new availability set and move or create VMs. So if you want to create one more availability set with different configurations, so we have to create new availability set, and we can move VMs already existing VMs to that availability set, or recreate VMs. Suppose we have two application servers. VM half VM1 goes to file domain 0, update domain 0. Half VM2 goes to file domain 1, update domain 1. Benefits hardware failure affects only one VM. Suppose we have two VMs, right? When hardware failure happens, right? So it will impact only one VM. Another VM runs from another file domain and update domains. Azure maintenance reboots only one VM at a time. One VM at a time. Application remains available. So Azure, when Azure is updating anything, any planned maintenance, Azure Azure reboots only one VM, like one file domain or one update on file domain and update domain. So applications remain available because first VM goes to maintenance, right? So second VM take that place. So availability set versus availability zone. What are the differences? Features. So availability set is protect inside data center. Okay. And availability zone also protect inside the data center. So availability set protection across data centers. It not supports. Availability zone supports. So availability zone contain multiple data centers. So it supports across data centers protection. Like one VM goes down in one data center. So mm, another VM already configured in another data center. Then it will work even though it is failed. One data center failed. Any disaster recovery app like unplanned disaster recovery happen like that. Use FD and UD, all domain and update domain. Availability set it is available. Availability zone it is not available. Recommended for new deployments. Whether it is recommended or not. Availability set to older method and availability zone preferred. So Azure now recommend using availability zones for newer production workloads. So Azure itself recommends availability zones only, not availability sets. Actually, that is old model. So in Azure, now Azure recommends that only production workload should be an availability zone. So fault domains. A fault domain is a logical grouping of hardware in an Azure data center that shares common power source and network switch purpose to protect your application from hardware failures by ensuring your resources are spread across different physical infrastructure. Why fault domain matters? If a power unit, rack, or network switch fails, all resources in that single fault domain may go down. Azure distributes resources across Azure itself distributes resources across multiple fault domains, so one failure doesn't bring everything down. So even one failure also, so there is no impact. All domains in Azure virtual machines. When you deploy VM in an availability set, Azure automatically places them across multiple fault domains. You deploy three VMs in an Azure availability set. VM1 go to fault domain 0, VM2 goes to fault domain 1, VM3 goes to fault domain 2. If fault domain 0 fails, VM2 and VM3 continue running. So that way it works. So next one is edge locations. Azure Edge or CDN POPs. So used by Azure CDN. So Azure edge locations used by Azure CDN. So Azure Content Delivery Network. Edge locations those are used in Azure Content Delivery Network. Azure Front Door, Azure Traffic Manager. These are globally configured Traffic Manager as well as Front Door, Content Delivery Network, everything globally configured, not within one data center. So it is configured in region level. Catchy content close to users for low latency. So it catches the content and again when user try to access the data, so immediately the data will be available. So that means low latency. We can experience low latency. Example edge locations across India for faster web access. Suppose in any Indian users are there when they want to access any website. So within the India, so that when this one uh, catch content, that edge locations catch content. Suppose you open that the same website before that catches the information and store in uh, the edge locations. So if you want to open second time, so it won't search for the origin server, and so the data will available in the local cache, so it will access very fastly. So by that we can reduce the latency. Okay, and so this one CDN, what CDN POP stands for, Content Delivery Network Point of Presence. Content Delivery Network Point of Presence. So POP means point of presence. What it means? A CDN POP is physical location or data center where CDN provides stores cached copies of content like images, videos, web pages. These locations are spread across the world. So before we discuss, right? So it configures global level, and so it stores data across the world. Why it exists? Instead of every user connecting to one central server, so every time when we want any data or anything, so we have to search anything. So every user connect to central server. A CDN sends the content from the nearest pub. When you configure CDN, right? So when you open any first time, like any website or anything, CDN sends content from the nearest pub. Pub means point of presence, which makes things faster. So because of content send content for the nearest pub, so it will store in that pub, and because of that we can observe faster, so low latency, more reliable. So the data already stores, so there is no problem, and it will access easily. Less load on the origin server. So every time no need to go to origin server. How it works? Suppose you request a website or file, the CDN checks within POP is closest to you. Suppose you open any website, right? So if you are in India, so CDN checks which POP is closest to you, like Indian. When so it, yeah, if you are searching for India, from India, right? And so you'll search Indian POPs, which is the nearest for your location. So based on that, that POP delivers the content if catched. First time, so it may take some time, and second time, if it is catched, so it will open very fast. If not catched, it fetches from the origin server. So if it is not catched first time, if doesn't POP doesn't have any fetched data, so it fetches from the origin server, stores it, and serves you. So it gives the information. Example: if your website is hosted in US but you are in Europe, without CDN, how can you access data travels across the Atlantic? Entire entire that route it has to travel. So it is very slow in that case. With CDN, a near European POP servers, the content. So nearby POP servers that may have content, right? Suppose you opens website and it will store in that POP server content. So it will when you open second time, it will take from that POP server that content, and it's very fast. Azure network infrastructure, it's like a physical components include high speed fiber networks, routers and switches, load balancers. So Azure also have the physical infrastructure. What we see in the portal is like, what that is a logical infrastructure, but underlying there are physical components include high speed fiber networks, routers and switches, load balancer. These all physical, backed by Microsoft Global Network. So Microsoft Global Network uses these physical things underlying. So back and behind it uses these physicals, and it provides the service. So Azure also uses its private backbone network, not public internet. So by using that private backbone, like private lines they use, and by using that they maintain these all they maintain and enable communication between all routers and switches, load balancer. So that way it works. Specialized Azure physical infrastructure. So components Azure, uh, these are specialized infrastructure for Azure. Component come Azure stack, like run Azure servers in on-premises data center. What Azure stack does is all Azure servers we can run on on-premises data center. So by using Azure stack, they configure all the required configurations, and by using that all services they configure in on-premises data centers by using Azure Stack. Azure Stack HCA. So Azure Stack has dedicated HCA, hyper-converged infrastructure. So HCA means so everything in the one place, like storage, networking, and compute, and so on. Everything in the one physical box, and so that is configured as very advanced technology. So that is very fast, and also everything in one place. So it can be accessed very fastly. Azure Arc. Azure Arc, by using Azure Arc, we can manage non-Azure servers and Kubernetes also. So Azure Arc helps us to manage non-Azure servers and Kubernetes. Okay, and so by using Azure Arc, we can manage entire our infrastructure. Like we have Hyper-V, uh, other Hyper-V servers, and other VMware servers. By using Azure Arc, we can manage all the servers. Azure dedicated hosts. So Azure dedicated host, like a physical host. So they physical separate, like dedicatedly assign one physical host to customer. So by using that physical host, we can configure multiple VMs on that physical host. So actually that comes with cost. So if you take physical host, they cost more. If you take VM, that is well less cost. So Azure has that facility also, dedicated host. So there is one option. So if you want any dedicated host, and when so you can take dedicated host, and you can utilize as per your requirements. Simple Azure physical architecture diagram is like this. Azure storage, so Azure SQL. So front end VMs, Azure VMs are there. Later comes Azure load balancer. Later internet. So physical architecture diagram like this. Microsoft global infrastructure first. Actually, this is first layer. Later geography like India or China or something country. Okay. Regions within that country we get region Central India, South India, or South Central India like that. So in that region we get availability zones. Availability zones means separate data center. Zone 1 has separate data center. Zone 2 has separate data center. Zone 3 has separate data center. So what Azure configure is, so it takes Central India and it pairs to South India. If Central India goes down or any disaster recovery happens, so we can access our VMs from South India. So Azure will automatically switch to South India. So there is no downtime. Edge locations, later edge locations. So edge location we configure globally for accessing data content delivery network. So later global Azure network. So global Azure network means Azure has a dedicated network and they have dedicated physical devices, switches and routers, and also they have backbone network for connecting their services and data centers. So yeah, that's all about Azure global infrastructure.